In this video, we will show how to use indirect addressing in Vijeo Designer. First, in the PLC project, we have a structure for a pump that contains an integer variable for the pressure, a real variable for the temperature, and a string variable for the name. We have a total of 3 pumps. For each one, we have assigned a Modbus address. Next, we go to the variables in Vijeo Designer. Here we already have 2 structures created, one for the pump with the same variable types as the pump structure on the PLC. We assign the Modbus address of pump 1 from the PLC. The second structure we have is to manage the Modbus offsets. There is one for the integer variable, another one for the real variable, and a last one for the string variable. Now that we have covered the bases, we are going to enable the indirect address on the variables. We start by double-clicking the pressure variable, enable indirect address, and select the int offset variable created. We are going to do the same for the temperature and name variable, selecting the real and string offset variables respectively. Next, we go into a panel. On this example, we already have a template created to display the name, pressure, and temperature of pump. We are going to configure the switches to change what is displayed using indirect addressing. We're going to start with the offset 0 pressure switch. For the configuration, it is a word operation where the source is 0 and it says the int offset variable. Next, for pressure offset 1 switch, we go back to the PLC program and look into the Modbus address of pressure pump 1 and 2. For this example, the offset between them is 100. So we configure the switch with a source of 100 to set the int offset variable. For pressure offset 2 switch, the offset source is 200. Next, we're going to set the temperature offset switches. For offset 0, it is the same as before, but now the destination is the real offset variable. For offset 1, things change since we're now working with a real variable. Real variables are composed by 2 words, and to calculate the offset, we need to divide the offset by 2. The source is then 50, which sets the real offset variable. Lastly, for offset 2, the source is 100. Now, we're going to configure the string variable offsets. For offset 0, it is going to be the same as before, but the destination is the string offset variable. The offset for the string variables can be a little bit tricky, so let's look into the Vijeo Designer help. On the offset size, we can find the information for the different types of variables. For example, the real variables that are 32 bits, the offset is every 2 Modbus addresses. Then for the string, with the number of bytes as 10, the offset is every 5. On our case, since the difference on the Modbus addresses of pump 1 and pump 2 is 100, we divide it by 5, making the source 20. And for switch 2, the source is 40. Now that all the switches are configured, we're going to simulate the PLC side as well as the HMI side. Here, we can see the values of pump 1. Then we click on offset 1, it changes to pump 2 for the name. Then the pressure and lastly the temperature. We check the values for offset 2 to see that it displays the information for pump 3. Another way to use this is to group all of the separate switches for each pump into one switch to quickly change the information displayed.